Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? I'd like to welcome everyone who have come out tonight. I know I'm rather tired after a long day, and I'm sure you have too, so it's a good comment on your commitment to what we're going to be doing here tonight. This meeting is being recorded for people who are not able to attend. And we have several goals for the meeting today, this evening rather. Make new connections and identify opportunities for partnership. Learn about transportation priorities and challenges in McKinley Park, to be specific. Inform community members about projects in the pipeline for 2023 and beyond. And of course, exchange ideas and suggestions for future CMC meetings and site visits. By the way, I forgot to say, I'm Garth Katner. I work with Westtown Bikes up in Westtown, and have been working on the bike scene and alternative transportation issues for a number of years. So that's why I got volunteered to come up. As always, we want everyone to be respectful, both in terms of expressing their opinions and hearing other people's opinions. So please listen actively to understand other views and perspectives. Make sure one person speaks at a time. Seek clarity, avoid making assumptions, and be accountable for your words and their impact. Your experience is valuable and unique and is worth sharing, so don't be shy. And provide constructive criticism of ideas and projects, but not individuals. In other words, every person in this room, by being here, you're showing that you're committed to healthy, safe, and equitable transportation alternatives in Chicago and the future of those alternatives, seeking those alternatives. What we might disagree on are tactics, strategies, and how to get there specifically. But as we make our comments, keep that in mind, that we're all on the same page with where we want to go eventually. That's it for me. Let me introduce Dixon, who's coming up. He's our community representative for the meeting, and he's going to speak on behalf of the Southwest Collective and provide an overview of the McKinley Park community. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. So as Garth mentioned, my name is Dixon. I'm here with the Southwest Collective, which is a community group that's based kind of on the greater Southwest side. So when we think about the neighborhoods around Archer Avenue, the CTA Orange Line, I-55 and the Sanitary and Ship Canal, these sort of entities that go diagonally southwest from downtown, we're the neighborhoods in and around those big pieces of infrastructure. And we have a lot of infrastructure on the southwest side, right? We have a lot of industry, we have a lot of freight lines. You can't go on a street, even a major street, for too long without hitting a dead end at one of those entities. So one of the reasons that the Southwest Collective exists is we want to break down barriers between neighborhoods that are often right next door to each other, but that are closed off from one another, sometimes just by reasons of geography or physical barriers that keep us apart. The neighborhoods on the southwest side and the neighborhoods all across the city have quite a bit in common, and so we want everybody to be making common cause to make our whole region and our whole city better for our neighborhoods and for everybody. We have some programs that we do. Our oldest is something called Freebies for Families, which is sort of a mutual aid type program where people can come and exchange clothes and toys and things for newborns and infants. People can get rid of stuff that their kids have outgrown. People can accumulate stuff that they might need for a child that they're expecting or kids in the house. We've also done food distribution. We've done farmers markets. We've done some public health work with the city. But most interesting to, I think, people in this room would be our bike program, where we do a series of monthly bike rides in and around the southwest side. And we plan these as family-friendly routes. And what we mean by that is we stick exclusively to the side streets, and we only cross a major street like Archer, for example, if we're at a traffic light or a stop sign. And so these rides are about 30 minutes. We go at a leisurely pace. We want to invite everybody people who are not used to riding in the streets. We want people to bring their kids along, etc. If people aren't used to, riding, we want them to bring their beat-up bike from the basement that they haven't used in a couple years. We want them to hop on a divvy, all of that. Because we want to encourage a culture of cycling on the Southwest Side, which is very car-centric. It's built around, a car is the, and oftentimes the safest, the easiest, the most accessible way to get around, and we want to encourage people to, think outside of their cars. So some of the priorities that we have around transportation for the Southwest Side and for McKinley Park as well, bike safety on Archer Avenue. Did anybody bike here along Archer Avenue? So, a few people? Yeah. It's not the best experience in the world. It's not the safest experience in the world. I biked here from the Loop on Archer Avenue, and weather notwithstanding, there's a lot of areas where cars speed. There's a lot of places that need infrastructure improvements. Years ago, the city identified Archer as one of a handful of spoke routes that go into downtown. So you think streets like, Lake Street and Milwaukee and Clark and King Drive, right, that go from downtown for a long distance to the edge of the city and sometimes beyond. And Archer Avenue has virtually no bike infrastructure to date. So we really want to make sure that, Archer Avenue is taken care of, that we have some physical barriers between cars and bikes, that we improve sidewalks for walking. On my ride today, I saw, I could count on one hand the number of people that I saw walking. And that's coming from the Loop. So better street design, friendlier for pedestrians and for biking. And we also want to make sure that, as these projects are taking place, that we're getting as much public input and community input from people on the Southwest Side as possible, right? We want to see infrastructure and resources, and we want that infrastructure and resources to be kind of coming directly from what the community identifies as the most pressing community needs, and we hope to facilitate that. We've worked with CDOT in the past to help identify, spots for divvy station locations when they were doing their Southwest and Northwest Side expansions over the last few years. And we hope to be very active in upcoming neighborhood bike network discussions that are going to be happening in McKinley Park, Brighton Park, and Gage Park, and to really kind of, again, encourage a culture of cycling on the Southwest Side and get some infrastructure that's going to make it easier for people to cycle in those neighborhoods and in the neighborhoods next door. So welcome, everybody, and I'm now going to pass it over to somebody from CDOT to wrap up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Smith with Chicago Department of Transportation. On behalf of CDOT, we really appreciate the participation, the collaboration with everybody here. 2023 is going to be a very exciting year for mobility, safe streets, accessibility. We're really excited about a number of initiatives. Dixon talked about one here in McKinley Park, Brighton Park, and Gage Park. We will be working with Dixon, the McKinley Park Neighborhood Association, a number of local stakeholders to come together, talk more about transportation within the neighborhood, understand the challenges, opportunities within the community areas, and to really together, in partnership with the community, plan out a connected bicycle network that addresses issues like biking on Archer Avenue, getting across major barriers, how do we use neighborhood streets to connect people to get across busy intersections and really create comfortable streets for everyone so that people can get to the places that they're most familiar with and that they need to get to the most. Things like parks, schools, commercial corridors, but also thinking about connecting to downtown and adjacent neighborhoods. So in 2023, we will be, and actually something that we're working on right now is to release a document that really summarizes our strategy and approach to encouraging, furthering cycling all across the city. And we're all working together on a couple of different scales. We're thinking about and working towards a connected network for the entire city so that people can get to those more regional destinations, the trail system, downtown, adjacent neighborhoods. But we're also thinking about the neighborhood scale. How do we build a connected network so that everybody in the neighborhood can get to those everyday trips, those everyday places by bike? And I think that by focusing particularly at the neighborhood scale, building up the culture like Dixon mentioned, that's how we're going to be really successful in getting even more people to bike all across the city. We've got a whole bunch of exciting programs like our Learn to Ride program. We offered this throughout last year in the Little Village community. Our Safe Ambassadors are here. This is a program where we taught hundreds of adults and kids how to ride a bike. It's a free program. Every individual who participated in that program qualified for an actual free bicycle. We gave away about 500 bicycles through a program called Bike Chicago last year. That's going to continue, and over the next couple of years, we're going to give away 5,000 bikes for free to residents all across the city. We've got a ton of really exciting bike infrastructure projects happening in 2023. A major focus of ours and everybody in this room is expanding the network of protected bike lanes and neighborhood greenways all across the city. Within this strategy that we'll be talking more about, we've identified the next 100+ miles of bike lanes all across the city. A huge percentage of those are really going to be protected bike lanes and neighborhood greenways. So this is really an intense focus of ours as we move forward. A couple of projects that will be happening in 2023, various sections of Milwaukee Avenue, Clark Street, Irving Park to Montrose, some improvements in the Edgewater community as well. We're looking at a few projects in the downtown area to expand the protected bike lane network. Kedzie and Logan Square will be getting protected bike lanes this year. Belmont, west of Western to Kimball, it'll connect into the 312 River Run, the trail system. It's going to be a really great project. Transit improvements, bicycle improvements, pedestrian improvements, that'll be kicking off. A little bit of the construction work actually got started towards the end of last season, but that'll be in full steam ahead in the spring. Commercial Avenue on the east side of the city, South Chicago neighborhood will be getting a streetscape. It's part of the Invest Southwest program. As part of that, it'll have raised bike lanes all along the corridor. And then Central Park through Garfield Park and by the Central Park Conservatory will be getting protected bike lanes, pedestrian improvements this year as well. That'll link up to Franklin Boulevard, which is a protected bike lane, Lake Street. And so we're really seeing the network grow and really become more connected so that, the ultimate goal that we're working towards is, once you're on the low stress network, you never have to leave it. We've had a really cool program that we launched in the fall called Left Turn Traffic Calming. It's gotten a ton of really good attention all across the city. We've seen really positive results. It's really focused on the specific issue of pedestrian safety and left turning motorists. In looking through traffic crash data, that's an issue that we identified. About 40% of pedestrians who are seriously injured or killed at an intersection, it involved a left turning motorist. So we've developed a program to address that specific issue. Since we rolled that out, we've seen traffic crashes decrease by 25% at those intersections. Adjacent intersections didn't see a change, so that's very positive, and we're seeing just a really incredible number of motorists behaving more responsibly at those intersections, stopping for pedestrians, and making turns a lot slower. So that's a program that is really proving to be successful. We're going to keep building it out, identifying locations where this left turn crash issue is the most severe, targeting those intersections. We're working on developing ideas so how we can formalize this program to make it permanent and part of future projects and really socialize it and streamline it so that it's a regular part of the fabric of our city. On the pedestrian side, we're developing an effort where we're really focusing around school zones. So in this area, Kelly High School off of Archer Avenue is one. We've met with the principal, meeting with the school council, and really the idea is to take a whole area around the school and just blanket the area with traffic calming, lowered speed limits, and infrastructure that really communicates to all motorists that there's kids here, there's a lot of people walking around, and that you're on a slow street, and you have to behave accordingly. We're looking at, like I mentioned, Kelly High School, Portage Park Elementary School, Ruggles Elementary School, which is on 79th Street, just east of the Dan Ryan. So we're looking at a number of schools and really excited about this program developing. We'll have a table here today talking about bus infrastructure. So we're working really closely with our partners at the CTA on making bus stops more accessible. Last year, we had a program that was funded through a funding program called Chicago Works. It's a local fund, an infrastructure bond program. We identified 100 bus stops to make accessibility improvements at. We implemented about 60 of those last year. The next 40 will be coming this spring, and then we're in the process of identifying the next 100 to get those started this year. So that's a really cool program. CTA has also piloted or rolled out a program for individuals who are visually impaired using the bus with signs that incorporate Braille, so that we're improving the accessibility of our public transportation system. We're looking at projects, things like intersections improvements for buses, bus lanes, in-lane bus stops is something that we've been doing and plan to do a whole lot more of. The bus stops in the travel lane, create like a bus boarding island. If there's a bike lane, the bike lane goes behind the bus stop, so there's no conflict zone from when the bus is pulling over into the bike lane. If you're waiting for the bus, you have a lot more space to get on and off. And then they also function as basically pedestrian curb extensions, really shortening the roadway if you're crossing the street at that location. So we installed about close to 20 or so last year, and that's going to continue and really, again, become a part of standard infrastructure through projects. I mentioned some of the statistics on the left turn traffic calming and that program getting a lot of attention. That's going to be a big focus of ours also moving forward is evaluation, communications. We're going to be doing a lot of before and after studies on various projects. We'll talk a little bit about that at Table 2. The topic is biking and businesses and building business support. So that's definitely part of it. But telling the story, letting people know how successful this type of infrastructure is really important. That's going to be a bigger focus of ours going forward. We're working on things like website updates so that the public has more information, and of course want to talk with you guys, collaborate on how we can effectively get information out, work together, partner, and spread the message of safe streets, accessible streets being good for everybody, no matter how you're getting around, no matter if you live on the street, if you operate a business on the street. When we design the street to be safe, comfortable for those who are most vulnerable, it's a good street for everybody. And there's a lot of really exciting stuff happening on the policy side as well for those who have been paying attention within the City Council. Just yesterday, an ordinance was adopted called the Smart Streets Ordinance. It's a pilot program to pilot automated enforcement for people parking in bike lanes, bus lanes, things like that. So we're really looking forward to that program rolling out. And then there was an ordinance called the Complete Streets Ordinance, which was passed. I'm really excited about that. That will include the creation of materials like Complete Streets design standards and really help in incorporating more of these improvements into a whole lot of projects. And then on the policy side, I'll kind of end it here. There's also some news about coordination between the City Department of Transportation and the State Department of Transportation. Also, again, very positive. A large number of streets within the city are under the jurisdiction of the state. In this community area, there's a lot of them. Pulaski, Cicero, sections of Archer are under the jurisdiction of the state, as an example. So it's really important that we're working and bringing our friends at IDOT along. And I think some of the recent developments with an MOU that was signed around intersection design standards and how we design our intersections is really a positive step, and looking forward to working with them on this type of stuff. We're currently recently kicked off a really cool design project focusing protected bike lanes on about 5 or 6 state jurisdiction routes. And so we're going to be moving that through the process and, again, partnering with IDOT on that. So I'll end it there, but again, really appreciate everybody's collaboration and partnership to advance these types of projects and really work together on making our city, a safer, more accessible, and more comfortable place. I think, if on the city side, the advocate side, activists, civic groups, we're all working together. Garth mentioned at the beginning, we all want the same thing, and I think we can be really powerful, very strong, working together and make a lot of big things happen. So really excited for the conversation and really appreciate everyone being here tonight. If anyone has any questions, wants more information on specific projects, programs, I'll be here hanging out after the meeting. Please come up and happy to talk through anything. So thank you guys very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Romina Castillo, for those who don't know me. Thank you for being here. Similarly to last meeting back in December, we are introducing this new format to the Chicago Mobility Collaborative, which is the community tables. And we want to spend most of our time on this meeting really having active conversations, more productive dialogue. And this is why we are breaking out into tables this evening. So today we have 3 different tables, and before I jump into the description of each table, I want to mention and remind you all that everyone can submit ideas for those community table topic conversations. We have an online form that's an ongoing form. We don't really close it ever. We just want submissions and ideas to come through that form on ongoing basis. The link or the QR code for the form are on each table. We also have one up front here. So for the last, before this meeting, we had about 10 submissions, 12 submissions. So I want to thank everyone who submitted some ideas. Those ideas are reviewed by our leadership group, our CMC leadership group. So I'm going to ask our CMC leadership group just to raise your hand so that people can know who those people are. So we have Garth, Peter here, Ismail in the back, and Jeremy over there. So if you have questions about the CMC leadership group, feel free to come up to any of them and just ask anything. They are the ones who are reviewing with me, with some CDOT staff, and we also check with people if their availability. So based on that, we put together an agenda for each meeting. So I just want to remind you, everyone. So after this meeting, please do submit your ideas. We want to hear from all of you, and hopefully for next meeting, we can come up with a different agenda for the meeting. So the tables that we will be breaking into, as already was mentioned by Dave, we have one who would be discussing transit, more specifically BRT, and we have representatives from MPC, is the Metropolitan Planning Council, who will be facilitating a conversation in collaboration with CTA and CDOT as well. So they will discuss what BRT is, why is it being considered here in Chicago, and how it can be implemented in the city. We will go over, or they will go over, the operation side or the operation perspective of BRT, and also the design of the streets, how to better design the streets to accommodate the uses, a better use of buses in transit. Table number 2, that would be facilitated by Dave Smith and Ismael Cuevas, and they, as Dave mentioned, they will be discussing how to build support for bike infrastructure with local businesses and how that has been a challenge. I know that that's one of the questions that many of you had during our last meeting. They wanted to hear more about the challenges that CDOT has regarding bike infrastructure and other active transit infrastructure, and how to continue building support and buy-in from local officials and stakeholders. So we'll be having a conversation about those challenges and opportunities moving forward. And table number 3, that would be a workshop with Dixon. The walking part of it is TBD, so I'll let you all decide if you want to go out there. You can check the weather right now. Dixon is more than willing to guide the tour, but I'll leave it up to you guys. We do have some umbrellas and some reflective vests so that everyone is safe walking around McKinley Park. So Dixon will discuss more information about those priorities and opportunities around transportation, those challenges here in McKinley Park, and some of the things that he already mentioned around bike infrastructure and pedestrian safety and so forth. So that will be a great conversation with Dixon. And lastly, I just want to also remind everyone, we have this table over here with the Safe Ambassadors. We have more information about different initiatives, different infrastructure improvements, so feel free to stop at any time and talk to our ambassadors, our Safe Ambassadors, grab any of the flyers that we have available here. I also want to remind everyone, please feel free to bring flyers and information from your own organizations. We want to share, we want this meeting to be a forum where you can all share the information that are happening in your own groups and your own communities so that we can all be more aware and more active across the entire city when it comes to mobility equity. And as far as with the Safe Ambassadors, we have infrastructure, some posters that inform people about infrastructure improvements, and I think Chris is pulling one of those. Please come in, grab some of those. We invite everyone to grab a few and a zip tie. That's something that our ambassadors do, and I know that was also a question from last time. How does CDOT inform the community when something is coming up or something new has been constructed in their community, on their streets? So this is one way in which we inform community members. Our ambassadors go out into those streets and zip tie or post some of those posters. So if you have some new infrastructure around your street and you want to inform your neighbors, or just grab one and learn more about the language and the information that we're sharing with the public, please, again, feel free to come in and grab a few of those posters. We're gonna break into conversations. We'll have around 45 to 50 minutes, depending on, I need to check my time. After the conversation, we'll just regroup and share a quick debrief on everything. For the people who are joining on the Zoom, unfortunately, we still don't have the capacity to have breakout rooms in the Zoom, as we're all trying to facilitate the conversations here. We're open to suggestions just to improve our hybrid model for the meeting. So at this point, for people who are joining in the Zoom, unfortunately, it will be quiet. So if you want to go do something else and then come back in about 45 minutes for the regroup and the debrief, you're more than welcome to stay. And with that said, we're just going to break into conversation, and then we'll be back here in about 45, 50 minutes. Thank you. Oh, one last thing. I'm so sorry. One last thing. Before we go into it, please come up and let me know and let us know if you need an interpreter joining the table. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It is time to regroup. How are the tables doing? I think you guys can wrap up in a few seconds. Alrighty. So we're gonna spend a few minutes regrouping and sharing back just high-level information, comments from each one of the tables. And I'm going to ask someone from each table to just come up and share a few next steps, highlights, comments, anything that you might want to elevate from the conversations. So let's just start with table number 1. Anyone from table number 1 can come up here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm from Commuters Take Action, and I was at the Bus Rapid Transit table. We talked about what Bus Rapid Transit is, and if you don't know, there are 6 tenants to Gold Star Bus Rapid Transit, dedicated and separated lanes, very frequent buses, raised platforms so buses are at the same level of the sidewalk for accessibility, off-board fare collection, meaning you pay for the bus before you get on the bus, signal prioritization, and fewer stops. So what we talked about in our group was what we've experienced BRT around the world and also in other cities. Milwaukee and Indianapolis are some of the cities closest to us that have it. We don't currently have true BRT in Chicago. We have those bus-only lanes, bus priority zones. And so we were talking about how in order to get BRT in Chicago, there's sort of 3 pieces. There's building community support. There's also building support amongst elected officials like aldermen, as well as support from CTA and CDOT. I think most of our group was pushing for less of a phased approach. Some folks talked about a phased approach, letting a community get used to BRT by using those bus priority zones and then switching over to full BRT. But I think a lot of our group was talking about how we just need to implement at least 1 bus rapid transit lane so people know what it is and see how effective it is, and that can help build support. And I think that's about it. Yeah.
Thank you. Can we have someone from table number 2? And I think now it's table number 2A and B. So I'm not sure if it's just one person coming up. Thank you.
How y'all doing? Table 2, our table was, thank you. Our table was bike infrastructure and their relation to local businesses. But what we had written down is a lot of neighborhoods are neglected compared to some other neighborhoods, and that should be addressed. Current bike infrastructure is not necessarily adequate examples of good infrastructure, and people will use that as examples of the why it doesn't work, but it was never functional to begin with. We wrote down that doing so is going to require leadership that advocates for better infrastructure. CDOT can work with media to put out stories regarding that these ideas work. We put down a pilot proposal in which we build complete streets and then use those as examples and data for other communities to advocate for it. And then we wrote down the DOTs know that this is proven to be true. The DOTs know that bike infrastructure does help businesses, and that the DOTs can possibly just build the infrastructure, just build it, and let the data show itself, let the results prove themselves. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? So this is table 2 of table 2B, so to speak. We talked about the placement of bike racks and access and transparency around approval of bike infrastructure requests, incentivizing acceptance of infrastructure changes, and involving chambers of commerce to present positive data so that they can comply and be happy about the changes that are going to be made. Also suggesting some possibly using parallel streets and close parking to replace lost spaces, designated conduits for bikes off major streets, local rides to demonstrate the economic power of cyclists, including closing streets and having bike-only days. Metered parking creates parking turnover, and utilizing the data from Divvy and other economic data to show that this concept can be viable.
Okay, thank you. Can we have someone from table number 3 or the workshop just to share a few highlights from your guided tour?
All right. I'll just hold this. Okay. So yeah, table number 3, we did not spend much time at the table, but we walked outside and took a brief tour around McKinley Park. We went up to Pershing Road, just south of the field house, and took in a little bit of the industrial history of McKinley Park and of the southwest side. We saw the fact that there's this large industrial park that extends from Western Avenue all the way to Ashland, and that essentially the streets don't go through. So if you want to go south of 39th Street between Western and Ashland, you really have to go to Western or Ashland because you're not getting through otherwise. And how that's indicative of a lot of places throughout the southwest side where we have industrial parks and we have freight lines that sort of cut off neighborhoods from one another. Then we walked over to Archer Avenue and we saw this sort of main thoroughfare that is sort of the only game in town in terms of getting downtown or getting through the southwest side, and how it is it is built for cars, and there's definitely points where there is no room, like the corner of Western and Archer. There is no room between the curb and the lanes of traffic. So definitely something to address in terms of the varying width of Archer at various points and trying to squeeze as many parking spots in as possible, which can cause some dangerous situations. So for actions and next steps that we recommended, one was comprehensive planning across wards and neighborhoods. So Archer Avenue does extend from State Street on the east to Harlem Avenue on the west. Very long street. Lots of neighborhoods, lots of wards, lots of communities, lots of alder people. So comprehensive planning for the entire street that brings everybody in. Also making sure that city departments are working together when it comes to transit issues. So when we have planning, when we have CDOT, when we have all the departments that are going to touch sort of infrastructure along a major street like Archer, to make sure that those departments are working together in a comprehensive way. And also making sure that biking and walking infrastructure on Archer and other major streets takes into account the varying width of the street, because Archer in particular will sort of expand and contract at various points. We shared information with ourselves at the table. CDOT said that we can stay in touch with them, so we will do that. And then in terms of reconvening this table at subsequent meetings, yes, be in a different location, obviously, but maybe with also a more specific focus on questions that we want to get out of it. And another note was to have comprehensive multi-year planning for any projects that are undertaken. So.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for your time. Before we close out, before you get up and leave, I will encourage you to have a quick conversation at your table and decide if this is something that you want to continue the conversation about, if you want to meet in between meetings, or if you want to have the same table, the same topic at the next meeting. So that would be great if you can decide that and let us know so that we can accommodate that for the next meeting. As I mentioned earlier, we have a post-meeting survey flyer, and that is on each of one of the tables. Please feel free to scan the code That would be the best way to provide feedback, comments, and questions. Anything that you were not able to share today, please share that with us online. So now that you have everything fresh in your mind, please scan the QR code and share your message, share your comments. We also have hard copies of the survey on the front table here with Aaron. So if you want to just fill it up with a hard copy, feel free to come in and do that before you leave. Also, again, if you have ideas for future community tables, we want to hear from you. We also have those flyers on your tables with a different QR code. Scan those as well. We invite you to our next meeting, would be in June 22nd, the same time, different location. The location we're still determining where we're going to meet. We are rotating this meeting in different parts of the city. Also, if you have any ideas, any large spaces that can accommodate this many people or even more, please let us know. We want to be able to visit different places in the city, across the city. We also want to thank the Park District, the McKinley Park Fieldhouse, and the team for hosting us. It takes a lot and resources and tables to be able to be here, so we thank the Park District for that. And with that, again, want to thank your time. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for everyone who joined in the Zoom. We are improving our formats. We want to hear from you. We want to be able to accommodate as many people as possible and to be as responsive as we can. So again, more feedback, any comments, feel free to leave that in the form or just come up to any of us that have a CDOT name tag and talk to us. We want to hear from you. Thank you.